Hello, I'm Citrus, and I'm going to preface this with a few things. So, first of all, I'm not super happy right now. I'm quite upset. And what I'm about to say is not very well researched. It is based on only my experience and my knowledge. Aside from two very specific events I'm going to talk about, none of this is fact, should be construed as fact, should be taken out of context of this video to support bad faith arguments or whatever. I just want to get this off my chest because, well, like I said, I'm sad and I want to talk about it. As I'm recording this, it is November 13. So on the Bandai Hobby website, they announced the products that they're planning to release next spring. Exactly zero, that is, no new Gunpla products were announced at all. We have the Shining Gundam, which we've known about since the All Japan Hobby Show in Shizuoka this last October. We have a repack of some option kit, and we have two colors of Gunpla-kun, which was like a event exclusive thing from, I don't know, a while back. The only difference now is that they are polystyrene instead of Limex, and it's general retail, so anybody can go get it. That's cool because I wanted to get one, but they were ridiculously hard to find before and very expensive, and I was not willing to pay that for basically a little tiny trinket of a model kit, so this is going to be great. But everything else, pretty bad. Second thing, Bandai announced that starting April 1st, 2025, they're going to increase the retail price of some of their products. For a bunch of reasons that I'll explain later. In short, I think this is a incredibly greedy move, and even before this announcement, they've already been doing it. Okay, one of the earliest examples is the clear body version of the master grade ball Verka. Right, this was a kit that originally retailed for 2,000 yen. And when they released this clear body version for Gundam Base, they increased the price to 2,500. Do you get any extra parts? Nope. It's just clear now instead of gray. So getting nothing and paying more, that's basically what they're doing already, right? And you're like, okay, fine, that's an event exclusive, that's not really fair, whatever. Okay, sure. How about the SD 0083 set? I can't remember the math off the top of my head, but the cost of this set of 4 SD kits is a pretty good bit more expensive than the 4 kits were to buy on their own originally. And there was another SD compilation kit thing that they released around the same time. I forget what it was. But same thing happened there. Bandai is basically just telling you that they're going to do something that they have and are actively doing right now. That's cool. God, where do I even start? Okay, so for me personally, I have been kind of tapering off in my Gundam collecting, well, for a little while now, but I've been definitely trying to more this year. A couple of reasons. Well, first of all, I already have a lot of stuff. You guys know that. My attempt to do the whole Citrus Logs thing is obviously me trying to get through the massive backlog that I have. That already is a good enough reason for me to not buy more kits. But second is that I'm in a really happy place with my collection right now. Whenever I buy any kits, I always think about like what other kits I have that I would want to display it with. So because of this, I tend to get kits in like blocks, like either pairs, threes, fours, or something like that. I've kind of gotten my collection to a point where all of the blocks are kind of complete. I don't have a ton of display space at home. If I want to put any of my finished builds on display, I would have to put something else away. When the kits come out, they also come out in these blocks, right? So it doesn't really lend to my interior decoration sense or my collecting sense to just like buy stuff as it comes out, because if it's not going to be part of something cohesive that I can put together on a shelf or something, then I don't really want it. Even if it's interesting or cool or whatever. But that said, if Bandai releases a really compelling product that does happen to fit into one of the blocks that I have, or have planned, or have contemplated making, then usually I would be tempted into buying that thing, right? Well, okay, it's not even recent anymore, but for example, the Master Grade 00 Gundams that have been coming out in the last few years, Dynamis, Kyrios, and Virtue, after all three of them came out, I decided to buy all three of them so that I can display it with my Exio whenever I actually build them all. But, that was the plan. This is unfortunately just for me, not for anybody else. But for me, at least Bandai has kind of stopped releasing products that compel me to buy them. And I made my peace with this a while ago, maybe back in like 2022 or something like that, I think was like the beginning of my reckoning with this. Bandai would still make quite a few Gunpla products. They wouldn't be for me. I was like, you know what, it's fine, all right? Like I've basically gotten a lot of it out of the hobby already, and as long as they're still making products for other people, that's great. But unfortunately, it seems like Bandai's getting to a place where they're not really even doing that anymore. New announcement, sure, it's only been a month after the Shizuoka Hobby Show, but even at the hobby show, like, what did we really see that we didn't already see? We had Real Grade Shining, Master Grade Vidar, and that's basically it. It doesn't seem like... I guess Bandai is maybe trying to make the Vidar like the big kit that they're going to end the year on, but, like, what... It's a retooling of a kit that already exists, right? Not that exciting from like a new product perspective. Like obviously, if you love IBO and if you love the Vidar, then great. It is the perfect product for you. For anybody who's maybe just medium into that, it's not a very exciting product. So there's no big kit to really end the year, and we're going into 2025, which is the what is it now? The 45th anniversary of Gunpla? I vaguely recall there being something that they mentioned, either at Shizuoka Hobby Show or some other time earlier this year, about how they're kind of ramp up for a bunch of exciting things. Well, if this was the time that they could have said something, it's November, it's pretty close to the end of the year, right? And we're going into 2025, and there are literally no new product announcements going into 2025. Our release dates are up to May now, okay? And they haven't said anything. That doesn't bode super well to me. Like, if we walk back to 2019 going into 2020, think about how many things came out. We had, like, the GBN Gundam thing, the fluorescent colored one that's like a fake Gundam or whatever. Sure, it's just part of the show or whatever, but, like, it was cool, right? It's a cool, like, nostalgic homage kind of thing. We got the Beyond Global. We got the G40. We got the HG Origin, right? All really cool. That's not happening right now. In fact, if you look at the biggest, most expensive, interesting kind of releases that came out, they were all like some kind of location or very timed exclusive version of some big expensive thing that ends up just being something that gets sold out in 5 seconds and then only to be resold on your local auction platform for like multiple times their retail price. Okay, that's like the only thing that's really happened lately, which is very sad. Now, if you're part of like any other collecting hobby or hobby that involves collecting, you have seen this trend, like Hot Wheels, for example. Okay, we don't have to talk about that. Seeing Bandai do these things is not surprising, but it is sad. One thing that I guess you could tell yourself, or I guess I could tell myself rather, to cope with this is this. All right, so I just dug up my notes, and this is from a script that I wrote actually in 2018 about Premium Bandai. So it's over 6 years ago. And at the time, I was gonna say something about how web exclusives aren't horrible, but the thing is, at the end, I say this, which I kind of prefaced that might be a controversial opinion, which is that Bandai is in a position where they don't really need to make any more new Gunpla. And basically my argument was that They've made about, well, actually it's more now, but at the time I think it was about 900 standard release kits, probably 75% of which at least acceptable. So that's 675 straight builds that you can do if you were to just buy a kit, build it, buy another one. If you build one of these kits every week, you won't run out of good plastic to snap together for about 13 years. If you do anything else, like choose not to build a kit on a weekend, for example, then it might well last you an entire lifetime. Bandai won't lose any customers because they run out of kits to build. So I think that still stands true, right? Even though Bandai release less new Gunpla than they ever did before, there's still a massive back catalog. Gundam isn't going to go away, but it is definitely no longer the focus of the business. We've been seeing them picking up way more outside licenses. We also see them trying to explore like in-house things, right? So stuff they don't have to pay licensing for, like the 30-minute missions, Sisters, the Night Fantasy, 30 Minutes Fantasy, I think is what it is. All of these things for Bandai is fantastic. They are very cookie cutter. They're cheap to manufacture because they share a crap ton of parts, and they're very cheap to develop too. All they need to do is maybe like make half a runner worth of stuff, and then that is a new product. And they can make all these in different colors for no reason. Like if you follow metal builds for several years, it seemed like every 5 minutes Tamashii Nations just makes up some bullshit Gundam 00 thing, and then boom, there you go. Okay, there's like another $300 for you to throw your money at, and it's like, what is this? Where did it appear? What? And then they kind of have to like make something up to go with it to justify its existence, right? Personally, at least to me, like that fell super flat. Exia Repair 4, give me a break. I don't care. But with stuff like 30-minute missions, Sisters, Fantasy, whatever, they don't even have to do that. They can just take the same thing that they've been making in like red or yellow or whatever and say, oh, it's green now. And then people will just buy it. Right? It literally prints money. That's great from like a growth perspective for Bandai, right? And from like a consumer perspective, this is cheaper, I guess, compared to a lot of other comparable stuff. I mean, certainly cheaper than Lego. The problem is like the stuff that they're doing with their licenses and with all this other stuff, it's kind of not good enough, is it? And I'm not saying that it's not good enough for us as a consumer. It's not good enough for me as like this Gundam boomer who's been in the hobby for longer than some of you guys have probably even been alive now. It's not enough for Bandai themselves. That's why they have to increase the prices, right? In the press release, they cited stuff like logistics and material costs as the reasons for why they have to increase the prices of their new products. I'm not so sure about that. Let's get one thing out of the way. So first of all, we do know that the yen has plummeted in value for a while. It was fantastic if you weren't in Japan. Obviously, we're in Japan. It sucked. If you wanted to take a vacation somewhere, if you wanted to import anything, your money was like suddenly worthless. Like a reasonable vacation, if you were a Japanese person, right, to go to the US, functionally would have like almost doubled in price. Not only because your currency, the Japanese yen, had devalued, but also because of inflation outside of Japan, in the rest of the world. Two things that work against you, right? And that really sucks. But that's for the average person. What does it mean for Bandai? Well, what do we know that has happened since, let's just say 2019, 2020-ish, okay? So there was a huge Gundam scalping thing that happened where tons of inventory dried up and people bought it just to resell it online on like Yahoo auctions in Japan for at retail or more. Bandai tried really hard to curtail this, and basically, without going into the details of how all that happened, because I'm not entirely sure what the real strategy was, the end result is this. Like in 2019, if you went to like a big department store in Japan and you wanted to buy like just a kit that was on sale, it would have been like 20 to 30% off. That was pretty easy. If you're shopping online on like Rakuten or like Amazon, sometimes you can find stuff for like 30 to 40% off. The Gunpla was pretty affordable. Nowadays, that's not the case, right? If you try to go look on Amazon JP or Rakuten JP, actually no, you don't even have to look. Like there are like Twitter posts that people have made of like signs that are on shelves inside of Yodobashi and stuff that say like, oh, you have to have like a pre-allocated ticket or something in order to be able to buy something, and like when you come in, you're only allowed to like buy one thing at a time. Now some of these things have gone away, just like how Gundam Base doesn't like take it as aggressively as they used to. Like there was like a lottery to be able to get a time slot to go visit Gundam Base, to have the opportunity, okay, to buy some Gunpla at full retail price. Like that's how bad things were. And that's gotten a little bit better, but the thing is, we are, at least in Japan, they're nowhere close back to like, 2019, 2018 times. You cannot basically go find a kit in a store at general retail for like 30% off anymore. It's just not happening, unless it's like something horrible, shelf warming, and nobody wants it. And that money goes somewhere, right? My guess is that Bandai's keeping more of it. So general retail products have gotten more expensive by virtue of just being sold actually at box price. And if you look at any Tamashii Nation stuff, God forbid, oh my god, if the thing didn't already sell out before it hit store shelves, it's also not being sold for less than retail price. Like Ami will maybe do like a 5% discount or something like that, and that'll be on top of like the tax price. So basically you're still paying very nearly like original retail price. So no matter how you look at it, like Bandai's pocketing a lot more money. And that's not even getting into web exclusives. They're way more web exclusive now than there used to be. And the fact that like in the last several years we saw the release of wholly unique molds that are made only to be distributed online. Like for example, the entire, like all of the newer Advanced Zeta kits, like a bunch of the G Gundam kits, the entire Master Grade F90 series, all of that stuff, like whole ass R&D went into those kits, and they are only sold online, which means that Bandai gets to collect the entire retail value of those kits, whatever price they decide it to be. And in the case of the Dragon Gundam, yes, I know a bunch of you guys are like, oh, well, it actually comes with a lot of stuff. No, shut up, okay? It does not. It just does not, all right? You compare it to, like, literally anything else that costs that much that came out maybe, like, not even, like, 5 years ago. Like, it's just not a lot of stuff, okay? They're just ganking you because they know you'll pay it. And the fact that you are going to defend them and say that, oh, it's a fair price, then it already worked on you. Congrats, okay? You're probably paying for some executive's dinner tonight, and that's great. Whatever, all right? If that's what you need to tell yourself to justify being able to buy stuff like that at the price Bandai asked for, fine. Without getting into the math of like the logistics and everything, web exclusives are cheaper for them to make, and they get more money out of them, and they're doing these more. So all of these things that you're doing are getting them more money, no matter how you look at it, right? So like, yes, you could say material costs, inflation, depreciation of the yen, and everything like that, but it's like this is not like a Gari-Gari-kun or Umaibo situation where those are materials products. They're very low margin, and if the price of the ingredients that go into making those things or the cost of energy that goes into making them goes up, then that does have a very significant effect on the unit margin of the product. Gunpla is not a low margin materials product. It is a design product. The cost of the thing comes from designing the model kit to begin with, all the research and all of the time to make the prototype, go through testing, and then strike the molds. It's all front-loaded costs. That cost isn't amortized across every single unit that they make, so over time, the longer a mold is in production, the cheaper each individual unit of product becomes. The economics of a kit that is being produced today that was designed years ago would have already been decided when that kit was green flagged for production in the first place. When they keep making them now, like past a certain number of years, they're kind of just making money as they print more of them. There's not really any significant cost that Bandai has to pay to keep making their kits. And as far as I know, Bandai doesn't even strike new molds for kits that are like heavily produced and like very old. You know, mold degradation is a thing that I've talked about quite a lot in my videos before. It's not like you suddenly get a new batch of some kit that's been around for like 15 years and suddenly all of the soft and almost disappearing panel lines suddenly came back and the edges are all crisp and sharp again. Like, that doesn't happen because the production cost of new molds is just that expensive. Like, at this point, I really think that the largest part of Bandai's costs have probably almost nothing to do with the product themselves anymore. What that says to me, at least in regards to Bandai's price hike announcement, is that when they say it's the logistics and the materials going up that's making them increase prices, I say that is 1000% bullshit. Because I know plenty of stuff that they actually have been wasting all of the money that they have been earning on. Okay? So, like, build Metaverse, pretty obvious, right? $130 million, I think it was like, what, 15 billion or something? I don't know, some insane number. They spent all of it for literally no gain because it was poorly marketed, it barely worked, no one gave a crap about it, and they did not get more brand recognition, did not get more sales, like nothing good came out of their Metaverse project. That was a complete waste of their time. All right, $130 million, kind of a lot of money. Let's take it at face value and say that the real cost of producing plastic model kits, boxing them up, shipping them out, putting them on store shelves really has gone up so much that Bandai has to increase prices by like 5 to 40% across the board. Why not just divert that money from something else? Maybe stop investing crap in more Metaverse stuff. Who the hell is the Miku X Gundam thing for? That license costs money. The dev time for whatever that thing is going to be, that costs money. The hosting and the administration of the event, that costs money. And what is the point? Is it anything that a Bandai customer, a Gunpla customer would want or would benefit from? And I would say probably not. And the fact that the first Metaverse thing was already such a disaster and just going to do it again, like, why double down? Why double down? It's so obvious that it was a bad idea. None of these Metaverse projects for any company really has ever panned out. And not only did Bandai try to jump on the hype wagon the first time, way too late, they're gonna do it like, make this make sense. They've also been spending a ton of money on like the Gundam. Well, they did spend a ton of money doing the Gundam Factory Yokohama. That project, I don't know how expensive it was per se, but the genesis of the Moving Gundam project went all the way back to the Gundam 30th anniversary celebration, when they like pitched like this kind of project where they wanted to realize a physically like accurate moving Gundam thing. But that they started that. They had a bunch of pitches from, they had like a competition or something for different engineering teams and companies and whoever to enter and propose ideas for how to execute this. And then they also made a documentary series about like all the different parts of the Gundam as they were working on them and testing them and so on. It couldn't have been cheap. Yokohama's waterfront, I don't know how expensive or desirable the land is, but the thing is they spent more time and money building the Moving Gundam at Yokohama. And I think, if my math is correct, that it was on display for less than half, maybe a little bit more, but around half of the time that the static 1-to-1 RX-78 statue lasted. The 1-to-1 RX-78 got moved around a lot. From its unveiling in 2010, I think, it stayed up until it was replaced by the 1-to-1 scale Unicorn, which was in, I believe, 2017, I want to say? We gotta think, as an attraction, the Gundam Factory was way more expensive to operate because you had to have, like, it moved, first of all, so just from, like, an electricity maintenance, whatever perspective, that's huge. And it costs way more to build, and it maybe lasted for about half the time. I don't see how that's a great return on investment. Heck, even the unicorn, the unicorn's still there. It's been there for 7 years now. So, so like investments that haven't paid off or aren't paying off. That's another one. And now let's not mention the fact that during the time that the unicorn went up, the Gundam factory went up. What else went up? Oh, okay, the new Gundam in Fukuoka went up. I don't even know how many Gundams have gone up in China now, but definitely the Freedom in Shanghai or something, like, that's there. Yeah, they're just going around building all of these giant statues, which can't be cheap, considering that they're literally building sized robots that need to be constantly cleaned and maintained for all of their like light show things and mechanical things to work. So basically they're buying these buildings that have to be operated and maintained like buildings that don't really do building-y things, like, I don't know, have tenants, conduct business, or whatever. Like, at best, it peripherally, like, attracts customers to a business where they can try to sell, I guess, just some plastic at full retail price. That's it. You do this a couple of times, maybe, but now, like, I don't know. I can't imagine. I don't know what the goal was. Because, like, you spend the millions of dollars it costs to build a Gundam statue, you're not turning it into, like, an intellectual property that's going to inspire discussion and fandom, right? You like, they can take this $1 million and make a 20-30 minute one-shot of, like, some random story from a, I don't know, UC, like, some other alternate universe, like, literally anything. And then that media can spawn stuff on its own. And it can be more stuff than just like the 1 or 2 model kits that they have of the statue. And invariably, like, they always make the statue, like, this is like the kind of straws they have to pull, right? They have to make the statue just a little bit different from like the actual mobile suit that it's based on, just so that there's like a reason to, like, this goes back to the whole like 30 minutes mission thing again. They have to have a reason to make some shit up. And the statue, like, that's not a good, I just don't see how that's the best way for them to do that. And then is, like, I guess, well, kind of related to statue, but like just Bandai's massive expansion into physical retail in a time when physical retail is not the fourth thing. I haven't even mentioned the fourth thing, which is the new factory. You know what? I don't even know if there is really anything I can say about the factory. Like, so there was like a expansion that I guess they made to their Shizuoka Hobby Center back in 2020, and now that they have acquired more land, but that's a massive capital investment, right? To go buy land, build a factory, buy all the machines for it, and then set it all up. Oh my god. And not to mention, like, hiring all the staff, training them up, ramping up production lines and everything. It's a horribly expensive process, right? Not cheap. So, like, is the logistics cost actually gone up because, like, these are factors outside of Bandai's control, or did they completely dig themselves into their own, well, not grave, obviously, because they're doing just fine, but, like, they dug themselves into this situation, right? Because they always have to make their line go up. Oh my god. And, just like how Porsche kind of had to die for, like, Volkswagen to survive, like, the early 2000s, Gundam had to die in a lot of ways so that Bandai can keep doing what it's doing now. That death being no more new products at all at this point. Master grades are gone. I never thought I would ever see this, but, like, high-grade Universal Century, which has been like a pillar product line for Bandai for 20 years now, is almost dead. They're gonna make the Psycho Gundam Mark II. They're gonna make the Bolan Salmon. And then what else is there? The Destiny Gundam Spec 2 with the giant gun thing? That's like 3 kits, that's it. This was a line that used to have, like, multiple releases every single month, okay? Like, it's now, like, oh my god, like the HGUC and all of its, like, the Umbrella line now has as few releases as Master Grades did, like, 5 years ago, and now we get, like, 1-2 Master Grades a year, maybe, if we're lucky. Like, the core Gunpla product lines are literally drying up. Like, Witcher Mercury did pretty well, I think, like, from, like, a popular perception kind of thing. But look at how short its high-grade line was. Think about how far we've fallen from like Gundam 00 when that high grade line had like over 60 kits in it in regular release, okay? And in 2022, only 19 regular release high grades. Not counting the like stand thing and the little accessories or whatever, okay? 19. 19 high grades and 1 full mechanics. Never mind that 00 also had a ton of 1/100 kits and a 160 skill Exia, okay? It's just so strange how much could change. Even when Bandai goes and makes their own property now, they're like going in it less hard. They're making fewer products and they're more expensive and they're less available. Oh, I don't want to say Gunpla's dying, man, but like what else can you what other kind of conclusion can you make from all of these observations? So I just wanted to get that off my chest. Gunpla is not dead. The kits that Bandai has made before, they're gonna keep making for a long time because they're in the business of making toys, and they're gonna keep making them as long as people keep buying them. And I don't know, I guess as long as they do one of these like something or others every once in a while and just puts like some Gundam media thing out there, somewhat like people are gonna get into the hobby and do that. And I guess they're just trying to find more ways to stick their fingers in front of more people's faces. It seems like they're struggling or they're insecure about their own ability to attract people like through their imagination by creating like imaginative stories with deep settings that are, worthy of investigation on their own merit. Yeah, I don't know. That's all for this thing. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.